Welcome to the Green Solvents Podcast, brought to you by TBF Environmental Technologies, home of solvents for a green earth. Now, here's your host.
Well, yes, this is Erik Reynolds, and I'm your host, and I'm back again today with Dave Pasin, president of TBF Environmental, and today we're talking with Dave about comparing the cleaning performance of EkaSol 1, TergoSol, and ZemaSol against acetone and isopropyl alcohol. Now, right before Dave joins us, just as a reminder, if you have questions or require assistance, you need to reach out to Dave and his team at 604-580-1575. Again, that's 604-580-1575. Well, Dave, it's great to be talking with you again today.
Thanks, Erik. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I'm looking forward to this performance comparison between the EkaSol 1, TergoSol, ZemaSol, of course, against acetone and isopropyl alcohol. So let me go ahead and just start with the first question. I'm going to have a handful if it's okay with you today. But first question is, now what was the purpose of the test? Why make this performance test or this performance comparison to begin with?
One of the reasons is because there's a variety of different issues with alternative solvents. One of the issues is their ability to clean and as compared to standard solvents such as xylene, acetone, mineral spirits, that kind of thing. So two of the biggest products used in industrial cleaning are isopropyl alcohol, which are used in a variety of different applications, including the canning industry, and acetone, which has got a wide variety of use in a whole range of industry, ranging from aerospace to manufacturing. So the purpose of the test was really to compare the cleaning ability of traditional solvents such as acetone and IPA against EkaSol 1, TergoSol, and ZemaSol, and see what the results might be when it's conducted in a rigorous independent study by a third-party customer.
And, Dave, that was my next question, actually, is, if there's going to be some results that may not favor some of the big boys, the big players, they're going to ask, hold on, what was the procedure used for comparison? So before we even give them a chance, let's go ahead and answer that question. What was the procedure that was used for comparison?
Well, there had to be controls. So what we did was we didn't, but the company, what they did was they took steel and aluminum components, which were pre-treated by cleaning them with isopropyl alcohol, and then they were weighed prior to testing. Then what they did was they took a saturated polyester resin, fiberglass resin, which was mixed and poured with each solvent that was tested, and they were placed in separate vessels. And then what they did was the components were then immersed in the mixture and allowed to dry at ambient room temperature, around 20 degrees C or 68 degrees Fahrenheit, for a period of between 1 hour and at 30-minute intervals up to about 5 hours in total. And after the desired drying, the components were immersed in oil and grease and then weighed again. So what they did was they wanted to see the amount of contamination that would be removed by the testing that was done.
Now, what type of contamination was tested to be cleaned?
Well, unsaturated polyester resin, which is a fiberglass type resin, and greases and oils, essentially. So what they did was they took a pretty difficult contaminant and tried to remove them with the use of the test products in question, which were IPA, acetone, EkaSol 1, TergoSol, and ZemaSol.
And then how long was the test conducted for?
Test was conducted for a period, as I said, from anywhere from 30 minutes up to 5 hours, and generally speaking at half-hour intervals. So they would dry them for an hour and a half to 2.5, etc., up to 5 hours. So at 5 hours, you get the resin has actually become, what's the word I'm looking for, cured, pretty much cured at 5 hours. So it gives you a pretty solid test of the cleaning ability of the products, where it'll dissolve the resin and the oil that's embedded in the resin, oil and grease embedded in the resin.
Now, how are the results rated, or what's the rating system that you use as far as results?
What they did was the results were evaluated visually and by weight to check for removal of the resin and grease and oil, and then rated on a scale of 1 to 5. So the more that was removed, the more resin and greases and oil that were removed, the higher the score. So the lower, 0 would be none, 5 would be as much as possible. So that's how it was really evaluated, and it was a pretty effective test because they did it over a variety of hours and a number of hours, and evaluated a pretty strict criteria in terms of what they were looking for.
So we've got of course, the purpose and the procedures, what type of contamination. We've got all the details out, but let's get to the nitty-gritty. What were the results?
Well, it's interesting. The results showed that acetone and IPA, or isopropyl alcohol, were the least effective in cleaning the resin and oil and grease from the parts tested. They actually showed that EkaSol 1 performed the best with an average of about 4.3 out of 5 and a low of 3 even after 5 hours of drying. ZemaSol was the next with an average of 4 out of 5, and TergoSol was third with an average rating of 3.99. Interestingly, acetone and IPA scored 3.7 or less over the course of the 5 hours in terms of rating for removal of the grease, oil, and resin. So that's an important thing. One of the interesting things to remember about this is done by a large manufacturing concern. So their concern was cleaning their equipment and their tools and their lines. And that's a very important thing to them because they have a huge output every day. So it's important to them to get efficiency in their cleaning process. Right now they were using acetone, so they were looking for a safer alternative that would do a better job. And that's what this test was conducted for.
So the results from EkaSol 1, TergoSol, and ZemaSol basically, blow acetone and isopropyl alcohol out the water. Now,
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Now, what was the significance, though, of these results? Besides having just a piece of paper with some test results, what's the significance of these results?
Well, what they showed was that the TBF products, the EkaSol in particular, but the ZemaSol and TergoSol did a better job across a longer period than the acetone or IPA. And just to give you an idea, acetone is the standard for use in fiberglass and cleaning fiberglass type equipment and lines. So the TBF products actually did a better job, even on dried and cured resins embedded with greases and oils. So what it showed was that they were actually more effective and did the job faster than what are considered standards in the industry, which are isopropyl alcohol and acetone.
Well, as far as TBF products, and of course the EkaSol 1, TergoSol, ZemaSol, not just that these results are what you're looking for, but probably what you expected, just because we know how effective these products are. Now, before we go, Dave, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I think what this test was conducted and shows, and it's been shown through test results just being done independently by a variety of different companies in the field, is that EkaSol, ZemaSol, and TergoSol are very effective and safer than what are currently being used in the marketplace, particularly for industrial use. Like, for example, it shows that the EkaSol is far better than IPA for use in cleaning paint lines and paint guns and dried-on resin than what is currently being used, and it's safer with a higher flash point, better toxicity. So all in all, it's proven our point that it is actually a better, safer product with lower VOC. So that's very important. And I think the companies that are looking to improve their occupational health and safety, as well as their overall green, wanting to be green, if you will, they show that they do the job in a much more effective manner. And cost-effective as well, and that's very important these days.
Well, it seems like you're really covering all the bases. It's cost-effective, it's environmental, and it just works. So it seems like a great combination for anybody looking for the solvents that you offer.
Yeah, exactly. If they're looking for effective alternatives, we can provide more effective alternatives, more cost-effective alternatives that are safer, and that's Absolutely. What the bottom line is.
Well, Dave, it's been great hearing more about this comparison and the effectiveness, like we've talked about several times, the effectiveness of EkaSol 1, TergoSol, and ZemaSol against these toxic solvents. And I believe in the next episode we're going to be sitting down with you again and evaluating the use of EkaSol 1, ZemaSol, and industrial coating polymer systems. Now, for our listeners, if you know someone who would benefit from what we've talked about today, who would just be interested or actually could use the information we've talked about today, share this podcast with them, forward it to them. I promise you they'll thank you for it. And of course, you need to visit Dave at his website, and that website is tbfenvironmental.com. Again, that's www.tbfenvironmental.com. And of course, you can always reach out to Dave by telephone at 604-580-1575. One more time, that's 604-580-1575. Well, Dave, for the listeners, for myself, thanks so much for the conversation and information today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening. At TBF Environmental Technologies, we manufacture solvents for a green earth. Contact TBF Environmental Technologies today, toll free at 877-658-3681. That's 877-658-3681. And on the web at tbfenvironmental.com. That's www.tbfenvironmental.com.